Hello, everyone from America House, Chisinau. My name is Margareta Kaluger, and I am the program manager at America House. Today, January 11, is the National Human Trafficking Awareness Day in the United States. On this day, the aim is to bring attention and opposition to human trafficking and modern-day slavery. The topic for our today's session is the traps of a human trafficker, prevent, alert, fight. And our special guest today is Adriana Lungu, project coordinator of the anti-trafficking project of the NGO Comunitatea XA Moldova. Thank you, Adriana, for making time for us and for accepting our invitation.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here today.
I am sure our viewers would like to know more about you, your position in the XA community, and your role in preventing human trafficking. Could you present yourself?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people kind of get confused about me when they ask something about me and they ask me to share something about myself. I'm actually of a Romanian ethnicity, and my family immigrated to the US when I was just a little girl. And then from there, after I got married and we have two beautiful children, we moved in Moldova and we started working with just different charitable projects. But a few years ago, we started working in a community with university students. But we've been in Moldova for, let's say, about 17 years. And just a few years after we've arrived in Moldova, I have just noticed this issue about human trafficking. And you know what? We just decided that it's time to do something about it. So I have been since working with the anti-trafficking project in our XA community, in our NGO here in Moldova. So my passion is totally to really bring awareness among young people about the dangers of human trafficking. So that's a little bit about me.
Could you tell us the story about how you started engaging in the mission of preventing human trafficking in Moldova?
Yes, I would love to, because it's just a really phenomenal story. When we moved here in Moldova, we lived in Balts, in the city of Balts, which is just about 2 hours north of Chisinau. And I got to know some really wonderful young people. And one of these young people was a young girl. She was in 12th grade and going to high school, finishing off. And she came to Balts to learn or to finish high school from a village nearby Balts. And her mom told her something very peculiar when she left the house. She said, when you leave the house to go and finish your high school, you cannot return back home unless you have a job, because you have 6 more siblings that we have to feed and we have to take care of. And so you have to make sure when you finish 12th grade, you have a job in the city. And so under this kind of a pressure, this girl was just so desperate to really look for a job. So one day she comes just excited and she says, "Hey, Adriana, I have a job interview in Chisinau." And I am just oblivious. I'm like, wow, this is great. This is awesome. I mean, I know that a lot of people in Moldova are looking for job opportunities. And so here's a 12th grader who's having this amazing opportunity, or so I thought. And so initially I was just excited with her. But then as I was starting to ask her about this interview, what is she interviewing for? What kind of job it is? She just could not answer any of those questions. I mean, like, I was so just floored by the fact that she did not know what kind of job she was interviewing for. And I was just perplexed. I was like, well, how can you not know? How can you just go and blindly go into an interview? And then she looked at me, she says, "You know, Adriana, I can't afford not to have a job when I'm done with 12th grade. So it doesn't really matter what this job is about. I need this job." And so I said, "Okay, well, when you're going?" She's like, "Well, I'm leaving tomorrow. And by the way, they told me to take my passport, my international passport with me, and a pair of changing clothes, because if I pass the interview, that's it. I get hired and I get to have a job." And that to me was just a little questionable, you know? And so I said, well, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about this. And so what I did, I gave her some money and I said, listen, do me a favor. Why don't you go buy some minutes on your phone and make sure that when you get to Chisinau, you go to the interview. If something doesn't sit right, I want you to call me. So she didn't want to take the money. She promised me she was going to call, but I slipped the money in her pocket, in her jacket pocket before she left my house. And so I wanted to make sure that she has a way of connecting with me if something wasn't going right. Anyways, long story short, the next day she shows up at the bus station in Belts to take the bus and come to Chisinau. And on that day was like a cold fall morning with just rain and just cold. And she missed that bus by like, I don't know, a few seconds. It just like left the bus station when she got to the bus station. She was so upset. And she was like, you know what? I'm not waiting here for 30 minutes for the next bus. So she just turned around and took the trolley and went back to school. And so after school that day, she came to see me. And I was just surprised, like, what happened? Did you not pass the interview? And she said, I actually never went, you know? And she said that after I missed the bus, I actually thought about what you said. I actually started thinking whether maybe this was meant to be. It was meant to be for me not to be able to catch this bus. And so I was so grateful, but at the same time, that was the time when I noticed, like, man, young people can be so easily tricked into being trafficked just through a very simple job opportunity. And how sad, you know, was that. And so that's what launched this research for me, where I just went in and looked for all kinds of information about human trafficking. And once I found it, I was like, I need to let people know about this. So that's where it kind of all started.
So during 7 years, you conducted classes in the high schools in Chisinau, Belz, Cantemir, all over Moldova. Could you talk a little bit about the awareness curriculum that you developed?
Yes, definitely.
What is it all about?
Yes. So as you could see on the next slide, you know, I went to work. I just went to work, did the research, and put together a public school curriculum that then we got it approved by the Ministry of Education, and we were able to go into high schools, and we called this program the Mask of Reality, or in Romanian we would say Masca Realității. And you know, the high schools were so gracious, and they have just really opened the doors to us with this program. It was a 1-hour program, and we got to just share with our students about the dangers of human trafficking. And then we did other kind of like one-day events. You know, we've done Don't Sell My Future, or Say No to Human Trafficking, or Break the Chains Moldova. And then we've also done some trainings in collaboration with the Center for Combating Trafficking in Persons here in Chisinau, as a matter of fact. So yeah, we were busy at work, but we were so glad that we were able to reach hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of students, really.
Let's go into the heart of the matter. Could you explain what human trafficking is?
Yeah, well, you know, we all know, I think, that it's a crime. It's a crime. And it is what most of us call it is modern day slavery. That's what it is. But there is an act, and there is a reason why and a purpose why all this happens. You could see on the slides here the recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring, receipt of trafficked persons. This is the act of the human trafficking. By what means is done by force, coercion, abduction, fraud or deceit, abuse of power, and so forth, and for the purposes of, you know, there's a lot of reasons why this is happening. In the beginning, people thought it was just for sexual exploitation, but it is not just for sexual exploitation. It is for labor, you know, it is for organs, it is for crime. You know, people are being abducted so they could serve a particular crime, and of course sex slavery as well. And so this is the human day slavery, and we are going to fight it.
So, on every October 18th, which is the European Awareness Day for Human Trafficking, the XA community engages in spreading the awareness message against the dangers of human trafficking. Could you tell us about the awareness campaigns you organize?
Yeah, even though this is such a serious subject, I mean, we are having such a blast with our team of volunteers. And, our community is not very large, but it has a really big heart. And when we get our volunteers excited about uh, things like this, like the European Day Against Human Trafficking, we get all excited. We go downtown. We usually have a big banner that we post up, like this one, for example, that you see on the screen. It says that Break the Chains Moldova, and we want to make sure we put it right in downtown, the city of Chisinau, so that we can reach as many bystanders, people that are walking around in the Central Park. And I'm saying we're having a little fun because we take out, in the next picture you'll see, we take out the popcorn machine. We have hot chocolate because this happens in October, so sometimes it's cold, so we just give out free popcorn. We give out free hot chocolate to people that are coming by. And then on the next slide, you'll see we go and we are ready and to pass out flyers. We want to spread the word. I mean, like we make thousands of copies of these flyers, and our volunteers love just passing it out. On the next slide, you'll see some of our volunteers passing out these flowers. Next slide. If you would, yeah, there you go. They're just some of our volunteers. The next one, the next slide, you will see that, both old and young they have questions about this. Margareta, we had this old man that's right here. He's speaking to my husband, and he was asking him, like, this happens in our country, like in our nation. And my husband, John, is like, yeah, it does happen right here. And his thought about trafficking was that it happens somewhere like in India, maybe in like the Philippines or Asia. This older man, he just couldn't believe it. Like, no, this doesn't happen in our nation. And it was a long conversation to help him see and understand that it does happen even right here in Moldova. So it was very interesting conversations. And then the next slide, you will see that what we do is we ask all the people that we engage with that day to come at this banner that we put up, and we ask them to take a picture, and then for them to post it on their social media with the hashtag, so they can spread the word. Not these pictures don't show up only on our social medias, but hopefully on the social medias of all of these bystanders that are coming by. They're made aware, they get a little pamphlet, but then they also get and spread the word on to their friends on their social media. So it's kind of a fun event. So yeah.
Yeah, let's now talk about the actual traps of a human trafficker. Let's see, what are they?
Yeah, I was telling you a little bit that we're doing all these different programs in school, and one of them was the Mask of Reality. And basically, with all of these, how should I say, traps, they're really, we would say that they are like masks. It's not real. It's something fake, but it is a trap. Because this modern day slavery nowadays, nobody comes and steals anybody off the street and like pushes them in a car or anything like that. It is all a big trick. It's just trickery, really. That's how people get into it. It's not like they're willingly somehow going into these. So I would say that one of the first traps would be the promise of a convenient job. I mean, and I get this girl that I've talked to you about, the story in the beginning of our conversation. I get it. Like, when you get into a very desperate situation and you need a job, you have to get a job. I mean, your parents are like letting you know you need to get a job. You are desperate and you're willing to go and cross some boundaries, and there you go. Then you're trapped. Second one is the promise of a good salary. I mean, we all know in Moldova, sometimes we don't get the best salary, or maybe we want a better income. And so we are being so fantasized about, wow, going somewhere outside of the country to work, we get this amount of money, and we would never get it here in Moldova. And it's basically, again, a trap. The third one we talk about is the promise of a safe home. Hey, you know what? We're going to take care of everything for you. Like when we're going to go over, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find you a home. You'll have your own room. Everything will be great. And what young girl, right, doesn't want to have to live in a beautiful apartment where we girls, we love to be taken care of. Let me tell you that. And so when a girl hears that she'll be taken care of in the same home, she's like, yeah, but that's a trap. And then the promise of a better life. Boy, every one of us want to have a better life. I mean, even me included, right? I mean, we always can think of something that we could have better or do better or whatever. So, but then this could be a trap for us, not thinking about it. And on the slide here on the right, you see it's just a part of one of the flyers that we're sending out or we're giving out to people. And when we were doing these programs in school, we were handing these out to young people for them just to be aware of these tricks, traps.
So now let's discuss how young people from Moldova can protect themselves from the traps of a trafficker and what actions should young people take.
Yeah, man, listen, if I can just hear my heart, the first step to prevention is to become aware. Like, you have to understand that this crime is not somewhere far away from here, but it's right here. It could be in your backyard. It could be in your classroom. So becoming aware and accepting that it does exist everywhere, including here in Moldova, is like the first step. Second one would be to be aware of job postings. And, back in the days when I started doing research about human trafficking and the story of my friend, back then she found this job posting in the newspaper because that was the thing then. Now, it's probably not the newspaper, but it's everywhere online. I mean, you see all of these different opportunities online, and traffickers, they don't have to go anywhere. They just have to sit behind a screen, just like you and I, Margareta, they sit behind a screen themselves and they are fishing out young people. So just be aware of the postings, the job postings, and do a good research on them. Do not give your personal identification or passport to anyone for any reason. Man, it doesn't matter. You go to an interview. If you're being hired and you are maybe leaving the country on a legit job, never ever give your passport or your IDs to anyone. Do not accept for someone to pay for your paperwork. Don't become in debt to anyone offering you a job. None of us should ever pay for getting a job, right? I mean, that's why we are getting a job, to get paid. We don't pay, we don't buy a job. And so just be careful on that for any kind of opportunities that ask you to put money down. That you just have to think about it twice. Then be aware of the lover boy. This is for all of these beautiful young girls that are probably watching us now or later. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. And I would just be very aware of all the elaborate gifts and the new clothes and the jewelry and all of the things that this person who may sound like they care about you, I just be very, very careful with that. And then the last thing that I wrote down, talk to a mature person that you trust about the opportunities you are proposed. I would encourage you to actually talk to your parents. I'm a parent myself, and I understand that I want to keep my children protected, and I understand what dangers are now in this world, in the time that we live right now. And so if maybe you come from a dysfunctional home and you don't feel like you can talk to your mom or dad, like find someone, maybe a teacher at school, maybe a professor, maybe a counselor, maybe a good friend that is older than you, a little bit more mature, maybe someone who's lived a little longer than you have so they could have a little more life experience, to just run it by them. Hey, I saw this job opportunity. I'm thinking about it. What do you think? Do you think this might be a good for me? Someone who knows you and who would know, like, yeah, this would be great, or no, this could be a trap for you. So these are not all, this is not an exhaustive list of like, this is the only way you can protect yourself. But these are just a few things that I like to share with young people when it comes to watching out and protecting yourselves.
Let's now discuss about how can someone help if they suspect a potential danger related to human trafficking and what they can do about it.
Yeah, well, trafficking is a crime like we've talked about, and it is a huge business. It is big. Someone is making big money. So my advice is do not get personally involved with a perceived trafficker. I mean, even if you have a little bit of hint that he or she might be a trafficker, do not engage them directly. So if you have a friend that you are suspecting is being trafficked, you can just let them know that you're realizing a behavior it's just not like them. There's something different about their behavior, that you are concerned about them, but that you're there for them if they ever want to talk or share with you something of what they're going through. Or maybe for sure that they are being trafficked, and so maybe you can directly address your friend and say, I just want you to know that I can lead you to some people who can help you. I can't help you, but I know some people who can. And so the best thing that you can do is you can direct your friend to call the hotline that's right here in Moldova. Or if you feel like you have to call it for your friend, or maybe your friend is asking you to call for them, these are just some of the ways that you can do when you suspect that someone is trafficked, that there's trafficking going on. But never ever get involved with a perceived trafficker.
So where can our followers contact anonymously or ask confidentially for help if they are threatened or feel insecure about a potentially related to human trafficking situation? Where can they ask for help?
Margareta, we are so grateful that Moldova does have laws against human trafficking. And, I think they're doing their very best to enforce them. Of course, some are not enforced, but I think they're doing their very best. And I'm so glad that there's a hotline. There's a hotline in Moldova that anyone, whether you're a friend that's someone who you think is being trafficked or you have been trafficked yourself, you can call this hotline and you can report it. You can let them know. And sometimes they even have other services that are available for people who have been trafficked, or maybe they can direct them to other NGOs who are working with victims of human trafficking and so forth. So this hotline is so important. You want to take a picture of this. You want to put it in your phone, because you never know when you'll need it. Maybe for you, but maybe not for you, maybe for a friend of yours. So always have it handy. This is a great number to have.
Thank you, Adriana. Some of our followers and viewers are parents or educators. What advice would you give to parents who are concerned about their children's safety, and how can they protect them?
Margareta, I understand completely this question because I'm a parent myself. And my daughter is 17. Our son is 20. But boy, my heart goes out for these young people. And, the first thing that we parents can do is to inform ourselves. We can attend awareness sessions together with our kids, with our young people, with our teenagers. We can go with them. We can send them. We can encourage them to attend them, but I think it's good for us as parents to be informed and maybe even go to these sessions with our kids and then begin conversation. Some of the best conversations I had with my kids were like before I tuck them in at night, before they go to sleep, just kind of go into their room and kind of talk about their day and just bring the conversation and tell them, hey, have you heard about human trafficking? Do you know that there's such people out there that, they would get a hold of you if they could. So I want you to be safe. And because I care for you, I'm your parent, we might have to set some limits, and explaining to our children, why are we setting limits maybe on devices or on phones or being online or things like that? Maybe talking to them about social media profiles and what information it's actually not safe to have placed out there into our social media profiles, to talk about proper and improper photos. If you're a parent and educator, if you have a daughter, or if you are a mentor to young girls, they need to know this from a very young age, what's proper and improper, because all girls like to show off a little bit, from time to time. So it's good for them to have these conversations ahead of time, and they need to understand, all of young people, and this is hard for them. Nothing is ever completely deleted from the internet. Never. And so they just think, hey, it's there and it's gone, but it's not really. Take computers out of the bedrooms and put them in public areas in your home. Like, that's such a safeguard. So that's an easy one. And then get involved with your children in anti-trafficking events in your area. Find nonprofits that are fighting this thing and go together with your teenagers and participate. You're welcome to come and participate in our next event when we do it in downtown Chisinau, and we're having a little bit of fun, but at the same time, we are bringing awareness, and it's just a fun way to connect with your child. Or with, if you're a teacher, with your class, just bring your class to one of these events and participate and become aware. So those would be some of the things. Of course, it's not everything that a parent could do, but.
And now I have a final question to end our discussion. How could we eradicate human trafficking here in Moldova?
Wow.
If possible.
Yeah, well, eradication is a big word. It's a heavy word, is a loaded word, and I would like to think we could eradicate. I don't know that we really could, but I think there's something that we all can do about. It's not a one man's job. Everyone is needed to fight, and this starts with you. Yeah, you watching this video, recording now, later, a month to a year from now, it doesn't matter. It starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. It continues it takes everyone. It takes NGOs, it takes nonprofits, it takes organizations, it takes, laws in the government that have to maybe be changed or maybe revised. It takes the justice system, pursuing the criminals and punishing the criminals. It takes everyone, like a whole community, just like we talk about, it takes a whole community to raise a child. It's the same thing. It takes a whole community, a whole country, a whole system to really fight this really hideous crime. So that's my take on it. Hopefully we can get it eradicated.
Thank you very much, Adriana, for accepting our invitation and for talking about the anti-trafficking program and giving us so many useful pieces of information and advice about how we can prevent, alert, and fight human trafficking in our country. Dear audience, thank you for watching this informative session on the occasion of a National Human Trafficking Awareness Day in the United States. I invite you to participate in our events organized by America House Chisinau. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., we organize a live session about the letters that changed the world. Our American Spaces volunteers will present them and talk about their importance. Also, you can participate in our contest, Letter to Your 2023 Self. The deadline for it is it's January 15. If you're a high school student, you can register to participate in the Spelling Bee contest, which will take place in 3 sessions on the 18th, 25th, and 29th of January. You can find more information about our events and register on our Facebook page. Thank you very much for watching us, and I wish you a great evening.
Thank you for having me here.